guys, welcome. This is Nathan the Tugan, 7A math teacher. Welcome back for another video of math class. So for this video, we're going to go over 1.7 multiplying and dividing integers. So this section says 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, whatever. Anyway, for this topic, we're going to learn two operations. And you might be thinking, wow, why is subtraction and addition different section, but why is multiplication division the same section? Well, that's because learning multiplication basically makes you good. If you know how to multiply integers, you're basically good with dividing integers. What do I mean by that? Well, we'll get to that later, but for now we're going to study multiplying integers. So hopefully you guys remember that multiplication is simply repeated addition of the same number, i.e. 6 times 4 is the same as 4 plus 4, 6 times. Multiplication with negative numbers are basically the same, i.e. 3 times negative 3 is the same as negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 3. But how about in cases like negative 5 times 3 or negative 3 times negative 7? Well, it's simply not repeat addition, right? I mean, I cannot think of how are we going to write this negative 5 times 3 in repeated addition. But do you guys remember that negative sign at the start can be read as the opposite of? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to interpret the negative sign in front at the start of the expression, in this case this negative and this negative, as the opposite of, i.e. for negative 5 times 3, what we're going to do is we're going to find the opposite of 5 times 3. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. What is the opposite of 5 times 3? The opposite of 5 times 3 is the opposite of 15, which is negative 15. Again, we're going to basically just do this. So that means negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. Now let's try the hardest one, negative 3 times negative 7. What do we do? Well, first of all, we're going to again interpret the negative in front of the expression as the opposite of. What is the opposite of 3 times negative 7? The opposite of 3 times negative 7 is basically the same as negative 7 plus negative 7 plus negative 7, which is simply the opposite of negative 21. What is the opposite of negative 21? Well, that's basically 21. Hence, negative 3 times negative 7 is equals to 21. But this is a lot of work. So we're going to learn something to summarize these rules that we just learned into simple, basic rules. And this is addition and multiplication rule. In multiplication rule, as you can see, there's two scenarios. Scenario 1 is if the two numbers have the same sign. In this case 6 times 4 and negative 3 times negative 7. As you can see, the product of those two numbers are going to be positive. And scenario 2 is if we're multiplying two numbers with different sign, the product is negative. In this case, negative 5 times 3, negative 15, and negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 is negative as well. So again, right here are possible scenarios. Positive times a positive is equal to a positive. Hopefully you guys know that already. Negative times negative is positive. Positive times, and then for scenario 2, positive times negative is negative, and negative times positive is negative. So, quick warning, people often confuse multiplication rule with addition rule. So here's a good visual tool for multiplication rule. Here's the visual tool. The visual tool is a triangle, and on each corner there's going to be 2 negative signs and 1 positive signs. So to use this visual tool, we simply cover the signs that our number have, and the sign that remain is the sign for our answer. So what do I mean by that? Well, we'll get to that later. But here's something to note. If we multiply any number, whether it's negative or positive, to 0, the product is 0. Hopefully you guys kind of get that already. 4 times 0 is 0, so it should also be, when you multiply negative 4 times 0, your product should also be 0. So let's use the visual tools. So here's how to use visual tools. So let's say we have negative 2 times negative 21. Again, we don't know the answer yet. Since 2 times 21 is equal to 42, and when we use the visual tool, we're going to cover one negative and another negative, so we're going to cover both negatives. So our answer is positive, since that's the only thing that's remaining. So let's move on to B. Is 4 times negative 15 is equals to negative 60. Why is that? Well, first of all, since 4 times 15 is 60, and when we cover a positive sign and a negative sign, as you can see, the remaining sign is negative, so our answer is negative. Is there another one? Since 8 times 21 is equals to negative 8 times 21 is negative 168. Since 8 times 21 is 168, and when we cover 8 the positive and a negative, our answer will be negative, since it's the remaining sign. So what if you don't want to draw the sign? Well, you can just say that you can just say that, since you just indicate which scenario is the multiplication rule we're doing, which scenario the multiplication rule applies to this problem. So in this case, letter D, negative 4 times negative 13 is 52, is equal to positive 52. Why? Well, since 4 times 13 is equals to 52, and both have the same signs, so the product must be positive. So let's move on to E. Negative 7 times 6. Negative 7 times 6 is equal to negative 42. Why? Since 7 times 6 is equals to 42, and since they both have different signs, the product must be negative. That's why it's negative 42. How about negative 13 times 0? Well, since any number, whether it's negative or positive, multiplied to 0, the product is 0. Now let's move on. Dividing integers. So because 6 times 2 is equal to 12, that means 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. Hopefully you guys can see the relationship, right? You see the relationship between multiplication and division, and we can extend this to integers. What do I mean by that? Well, if negative 4 times negative 8 is equal to 16, if negative 2 times negative 8 is equal to 16, then 16 divided by negative 8 is equal to negative 2. Again, here's another example. 7 times negative 8 is equal to negative 56. That means negative 56 divided by negative 8 must be equal to 7. Can you see something similar? Do you see something familiar to you guys? Hopefully for those people that can see it or can see the relationship, you won't be shocked for the division rule. Division rule is basically the same thing as multiplication rule, but instead of multiplication and we're dividing. So if two numbers, so division rule has two scenarios. Scenario 1, both numbers have the same sign, so not the product, the quotient is positive. The same thing with scenario 2. If both integers or numbers have the same sign, the quotient is negative. So scenario 1 is positive divided by positive, should give you guys positive. Negative divided by negative should give you guys positive. Again, scenario 2 is positive divided by negative, should give you guys negative, and negative divided by positive is negative. Note, 0 divided by any number, whether positive or negative, is 0. And any number, whether positive or negative, divided by 0 is undefined. So some people might confuse this, which rule is which. Rule of thumb, if the 0 is to the left or at the top of a fraction bar, the answer is 0, otherwise it's undefined. So if the 0 is on the bottom or to the right, it's undefined. So we can use the triangle visual tool that we just learned for multiplication, for division, for when dividing integers. Again, hopefully you guys should know how to find the So here are two examples. Negative 140 divided by negative 7 should give you guys negative 20, since negative 140 divided by 7 is equals to 20, and since we covered both negative, we both covered the negatives, since negative 140 and 7 are negatives, the remaining sign is positive. So our answer is positive 20. Fooled you guys on that one. So B, 42 divided by negative 6 should give you guys negative 7, since 42 divided by 6 is equals to 7. And we covered negative and a positive, so our answer should be negative. Or again, we can simply indicate which scenario we're talking about. So for C, negative 84 divided by negative 3 should give you guys 28, since 84 divided by 3 is 28, and both numbers on the fraction have the same sign, so the quotient is positive. Let's move on to D. Negative 276 divided by 6 should give you guys negative 46, since 276 divided by 6 is equals to 46, and both numbers right here on the fraction bar have different sign, so the quotient is negative. So for E, 0 divided by negative 61, since 0 divided by any number is 0. Again, 0 is on the top, so your answer should also be 0. Let's move on. F, negative 26 divided by 0 should give you guys 0, not 0, undefined, because any number when we divide that number with 0 should give you guys undefined. If you put that in your calculator, you're gonna get an error. If you get an error, you should not put error on the test or your homework. You should put undefined. So you can pause the video here and want to try A2F by yourself, and then we'll do it together. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and did the practice by yourself. Now let's try this together. A, what is your answer? Negative, because they're both different signs, so your answer should also be negative. Then we're just going to multiply 8 times 11, which is 88. This, for B, are we going to have a positive or negative? A positive. So do I need to put a positive sign? No need, right? So now we're just going to multiply 7 times 9. Should give you guys 63. Moving on. C, what is your answer? 0. If you put negative 0, I'll accept it, but 0 is should be your answer. Now for D, negative 36 divided by 2, what is your sign first? What is the sign of your answer going to be? Negative. And 36 divided by 2 is 18. So your answer is negative 18. Now for E, 0 divided by 27, what is your answer? Undefined or 0? 0. Hopefully you got that answer correct. And moving on. 32 divided by negative 8. What is your answer going to be? Negative or positive? Negative. And 32 divided by negative 8. My bad on that. 32 divided by negative 8 should give you guys 4. So your answer is negative 4. Hopefully you guys hopefully you got all the practice correct, and don't forget to do your homework. Peace. Thanks for watching. Thank you. Goodbye.